gosh, I didn't know we'd be seeing you. Heck yeah. I'm gonna creeping around on here.
Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. I've still got some people coming in, so we're right at time. Okay, I'll keep an eye on that waiting room. But I want to do a quick introduction and we'll get started pretty quickly. So thanks again for joining. I think this is an important information for any college student, especially you folks that are about to go out into the real world. This is really important to get this info. I think it's a great awareness. As much information as you're going to get tonight, it's just the tip of the iceberg. It takes a lot of time and knowledge to be able to manage your money in a way that's going to keep you happy and financially healthy. So I hope this is very productive for everyone that's joining. And we're doing great. We're getting up to 80 folks. So I'm happy to see this many people on. We've got great partners at Northwestern Mutual. We've got 3 folks on tonight. Carrie Lemke works with us. She's going to be probably at our etiquette dinner that's now going to be pushed back a little bit till April, and do some other events with us. And our really good friend, long-term friend, I don't want to say old friend, but long-term friend, Danielle Lukens, is on as well. She's just, I think, moral support. We'll see. And the star of the show is Brian Koch. Brian, no pressure. He is one of the Northwestern Mutual advisors, and will be, talking through most of the concepts that we're on for. So I'll turn it over to Carrie and she'll do some intros, a little bit more detailed intros, and then we'll get started with the info.
Yay, thanks, Roy. Hi, everybody. So excited to see y'all. If you'd like, you can turn on your camera. I know it's recorded. Maybe that's a little scary, but I love to see people. I know we'll get the screen sharing here in a second, but if y'all are available to do that, we would love that. But we're excited to chat with y'all tonight. I know Brian's mostly going to be speaking about the fun world of Finance 101, which I'm sure you all were so excited all day today in class, and we're thinking about it all day. But we are pumped to spend this Monday night with you all. So I just want to introduce myself. So I know Roy introduced us a little bit, but my name is Carrie. I am the Director of Campus Selection for Northwestern Mutual here out of our Clayton and Chesterfield Valley offices in the St. Louis area. So Clayton is pretty much neighbors to SLU almost. I'm actually over in Central West End, so I'm definitely neighbors with y'all down the street. But who is Northwestern Mutual? To kind of give a little bit of background there, and Brian, you can share the screen. Oh yeah, like the first slide. But we are within the financial services industry. Hopefully, y'all can kind of gather that with talking and having the credibility to talk about Finance 101 with you all. So we are a Fortune 500 company, or Fortune 100 company, excuse me. And our advisors work with their clients on their holistic, comprehensive financial plan. So every single day, people just like Brian help his clients reach whatever definition of financial security means to them. And we do that in 3 main categories: risk management, wealth accumulation, and then wealth preservation and distribution. So insurance, investments, and retirement. While we aren't stressed, or I'm not stressed about retirement currently right now, because I'm invincible, I will live forever. But at some point, that will definitely be more prevalent. So what can we do today to set y'all up better for the future? So anyways, I just wanted to give a little background on really why we are here to talk to you all about this. And I don't know. So that's that. Brian is here with us today or tonight. Like I said, he's an advisor with our firm. He's been with our firm for, you said 7 years, correct, Brian? Yeah. Very long time. He was actually a former intern, went full time so many years ago. Sorry, I'm not doing great at introducing.
Yeah, 2016.
2016. Woohoo. So yeah, he runs his practice over on the Illinois side. So I don't know if you of you are over on the Illinois side or from there, but we're excited for him to be joining y'all tonight. And feel free to ask any questions. I will monitor the chat box to make sure we can get those on there. But Brian, why don't you take it away?
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. Royce, thanks for having us. And guys, yeah, I'm glad to be talking to you tonight. I've watched a lot of SLU basketball this year, so I don't know if we got any basketball guys on the call here. So I played Division II basketball. That meant I was a good shooter, just a little unathletic to be in the same league as you guys are. So and now here I am 7 years later. So yeah, so guys, talking just kind of finance 101. I'm kind of a geek for this stuff, so I could talk about it all day long, right? But I think it is really important, no matter what level of college you guys are in. So I know, if I'm correct, we got really anywhere from freshmen to seniors on this call. I don't know if there's anybody that has money coming in with the new NIL deals and stuff like that. I wasn't blessed enough to have that either, but again, I'm not really sure what deal I would have struck outside of. Never mind, I was going to make some joke, but it probably wouldn't have gone over well. So, but I don't know if anybody's got any of that stuff coming in, or even summer jobs, stuff like that. But even more importantly, whenever you guys graduate, and if you go on to play sports after college professionally somewhere else, or you guys go into the workforce, I think this stuff is so incredibly important. I always think about, if I hadn't have started my career when I was in college, I started right after my junior year. I always kind of ask myself, like, would I have done this stuff and be saving and planning the way that I'm doing if I obviously wasn't doing this for a living, right? And I would hope that would be the case, but the truth is, I really don't know. So I just think having somebody, I always say this, and this is very rich for me to say this because I do this for a living, but I think it's very important, as early as possible, to get attached to somebody that's a financial advisor that you trust, right? That you trust, that you like. You guys have similar philosophies, because that makes this thing very easy. I talk to so many people on a daily basis that, they say, oh, I know how important this stuff is. I just, I don't really know where to start. I didn't know what to do. And so a lot of people, they just they take that fear and they just they just don't even worry about it. They try not even to worry about money, right? But it's so incredibly cool. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about, I think tonight, is just kind of helping you guys understand the power of starting early, right? And having a plan early, and what that will mean for you guys. So I just think, if you guys can take anything away from that, understand the benefit of you guys starting, saving anything that you can as early as you can, and having a plan, right? And I think that helps out a lot, right? So yeah, I think, and I'll kind of be running through this PowerPoint here, just so you guys can have kind of something to look at here. And working from home, I got the dog in the background kind of going nuts, and so sorry if you hear that. So just kind of, I think, again, have finances had a big impact on your life? How does money, and everybody comes from different money backgrounds, so I think that's really important. We all understand, not everybody has the same upbringing, not everybody's going to have the same job right out of college, all that stuff's different, but I do think everybody has the same opportunity to start planning at the same time, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense. And so, as far as basic, and I really like this slide when I was looking through this, the objective is to have the freedom to choose, right? And so when I was reading that, looking through this, what does that mean? Guys, I think financial freedom in the long run, everybody wants to have $1 million someday. Everybody wants to have a certain amount of money in their bank account. I truly think, and I have so many people tell me on a daily basis, what is financial success? And I've always been told I kind of live by this, but never having to turn down anything because of time or money, right? And so I think, having the ability to set up yourself in the future to where, maybe not. Sorry, I don't know if you guys could hear that or not.
We lost you. We're back now, though, Brian.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So yeah, sorry, I had something start talking to me on my other screen there. So I think what financial success is whether it's in your 20s or in your 30s or 40s, having the ability to give your family choices, have that, never really have those, not necessarily just family, but yourself and your career and charities and all that stuff, and have the ability to never really have to question anything that you're able to do in life, because you can say, hey, I'm so glad I started early and have plenty of money saved up for the house, the car, vacations, taking my family out to eat on a Thursday night just because I don't feel like cooking, type of stuff, right? So it's just, yeah, it's never too early to start. And the last one there says there's no magic pill. I really thought that was great, because I get asked, I was just on a meeting at 6 o'clock right before this, and someone was asking me, well, what do your accounts typically do? What's your rate of returns you get? You know, I'll always tell everybody the stock market averages, 8 to 10%, right? If you guys are worried about rate of return at all, 8 to 10%, and it has for every decade for the last 60 years. Okay. So if you guys can understand that, right, there's really no magic pill. And if any financial advisor ever tells you, oh, I'm 10 times better than this guy or whatever, the truth is I think that's kind of ridiculous, because I think we all have the same tools and the same things that we can all use, right? It's all, I think, about behavior, right? I really do think so. I think my job half the time for everybody I work with is just helping point them in the right direction and helping them create habits, right, that can, start, early success, right? You guys are all athletes, right? You guys are all athletes. You guys know the importance of practicing hard, the weight room, eating properly. Like, that is literally all habits, right? So I was thinking about, everybody had probably different backgrounds. I think of like the weight room. But when I was in high school, I absolutely hated lifting. I played football, I played basketball, and I hated lifting. It just wasn't really a priority. And then when I, decided I was going to play college basketball, I was like, okay, I really got to get my fitness and my, physical ability in shape before I go do this. And that's when I really got obsessed with it, but it was not easy, right? So I'm sure you guys have probably all had that same thing whenever you were like going to SLU for the first time or going to college for the first time. It's not easy getting in the habit of like doing something you've never done. It's very hard. Same thing with eating, same thing with studying, same thing with anything, right? So same thing with finance, with your money, right? Saving money is not going to be easy. There are so many things that are in this world. You get on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, there's going to be ads thrown at you. I still don't actually know how that works. How you say something out loud and then an ad pops up on Instagram 5 seconds later, right, to tell you to buy it. It's freaky, and I fall into that trap every time, right? But we get in that habit of if you can get in the habit of saving money from a young age, right? It's not going to be easy, right? But if you do it, guess what? 4 years later, for those seniors that are on the call here, guess how easy it probably is to go into preseason training, right? Pretty easy, right? How easy is it to do the same things you guys have done for the last 4 years? Probably a lot easier, because it's become a habit. Same thing with your money. So I think that's so important whenever you guys get out there, no matter what you do, no matter what is next, right? I think, set up, we'll talk about 401ks, right? Set up employee benefits, to make sure you're funding 401ks properly. And then look at your budget, right? How much is coming in? How much is going out? How much do you have left over? And then take a portion of that and put it away on a monthly basis, right? And then it is amazing, right? It is amazing what can happen. One of my favorite slides on here, and I'll kind of probably skip back through this stuff, but is this one right here. So the value of starting early, and I'm going to pull up my financial calculator here in a second as well. But this example just shows you 3 different investors saving $100 a month. Okay, so investor A, if you start saving $100 a month, okay, at 25 years old until 65, you'll have $208,000 by the time you're 65. All right, you've invested $48,000. Right, that's the other just kind of quick, invest your money. Cash, right? Money in the bank. I feel like that's also the other thing. Society is, this is my perspective, but society's always told us that we're as wealthy as what's in our bank accounts, right? How much money do you have in the bank? I just always have kind of felt that's where your wealth is, right? That's simply not true, right? Why do we have money in a bank account, right? Bank accounts are there because we need to, pay our bills, right? We need to pay our bills, live our life, buy Chipotle and whatever else you guys need to spend your money on, right? Like, we have money because we need to live our life. Outside of that, it really does absolutely nothing for us, right? So this person, right? So person A, right? So investor A, they saved $48,000 total, right, over that 40-year period. If they would have put that in a savings account, they would probably have $48,000, maybe a little bit more, right? But because they invested it, right, and this is only a 6% rate of return, instead of having 48,000, they have 208,000. Okay, it's compound interest, just simply letting your money make money for you, right? But if we wait, if we decide to wait 10 years, I've had a lot of people in my career so far say, I don't know, I'm saving, I got my 401k, I probably don't need to save anything else. I'll start in 5 years, I'll start in 10 years, whatever. The only comment that I've ever had that is actually in those same people, right, that is kind of like a light bulb, is when I'm talking to somebody in their 40s, right, and I'm talking them through a retirement plan, because now all of a sudden it's kind of like, okay, holy crap, I'm married, I have kids, retirement's like actually not that far off. They always say, oh my gosh, I wish I would have started this earlier. That is everybody's biggest regret, right? So that's why, I mean, again, I'm not here to say you guys need to start saving money right now. Heck, you're in, you guys are in college. Some of you guys, probably don't even have income, right? Which is totally fine. But whenever you do, the earlier you can start that, the better, right? Because even if you're saving $100 a month, look what that does, right? And I show you guys this. I will always show. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I will always show, like, anybody that I'm working with. This is, I'm not some like finance genius. I actually really struggled through statistics in college, hardcore. But this is just an online financial calculator. Anybody can use it. If you want to get obsessed with money, go learn how to play with this thing. So there's, like, for example, though, for you guys, right? So if you guys want to be a millionaire someday, this is what I always talk. You want to have $1 million someday, okay? So your future value is $1 million. Let's say you earn an 8% rate of return, and you start saving when you're 43 years old. So you have 42 years before you're 65, okay? So you're 23 to 65. Start with $0, okay? So if you guys want to be millionaires someday, right out of college, you essentially need to start saving a little over $250 a month. Okay, so $3,200 a year. Like, that's, and I don't want to say that's just easy, but like, that's, in my opinion, if you get, we're out working in the workforce, right? $250 a month right out of college, and you guys will have $1 million someday. Okay, so like, that's, again, so I guess to me, sometimes, I don't want to say anything is easy, but like, it's kind of that easy. Right. And so imagine you go play with that thing. It's like, imagine, okay, hey, what if we save 500, right? What if we save 1,000, right? And it's all based, again, off of what's coming in and going out, but it can be a really, really good thing. And again, that has nothing to do. I'll come back and show you guys some more numbers on this with anything special besides you start early. Okay. So let's say, again, that same person, let's say you want to save $500 a month right out of college. For 42 years, you have $1.8 million. Okay. But if you decide to wait 5 years, so let's say we wait until we were 28 years old, right, instead of 23. Okay. So that's 5 years later. So now instead of 42 years, we have 37. Instead of having 1.8 million, you have 1.2. Right. So just waiting 5 years costs you $600,000. Right. And in today's money, that's only 30 grand essentially that you didn't save for 5 years, that cost you $600,000 in retirement. Right. So to me, that's kind of a no-brainer. Right. But that's just the way that I kind of look at that. Right. So in case you guys haven't noticed, I don't know if anybody has any questions just yet or anything like that. If there's anything in the box, it's okay. And if you do, just unmute yourself and shout at me something you want to know. But I think more than anything, guys, if you take away anything from tonight, please just start saving early. Start a plan early. Have somebody that you trust, right, that you guys can attach to. Okay. And again, if any questions, please shout that out. All right. So then again, what's almost equally as important for you guys saving early, I think, is how your money is taxed. Okay. And if you guys have ever had a job, even I will never forget my first summer job. I was 15 years old. I was a lifeguard in Evansville, Indiana, where I'm from. Okay. And I was a lifeguard, and I got my first paycheck, and I was looking at it, and I just kind of like stared at it for a little bit, right? And I was like doing the math in my head. I was like, okay, I'm making this much per hour. I worked that many hours. I was like, why is my paycheck so much less than what I should be making, right? And my dad just like kind of like laughed and just like walked away, right? And then I figured out it was taxes, right? So taxes on your money, right? So we'll always talk through how for our clients, right, how their money is taxed, okay? So like starting with just a 401k plan. Okay. So like you guys, most people, almost everybody has some sort of 401k. All right. What is the benefits to a 401k plan? Right. Is whenever, or sort of an employee-based plan. So like if you work at a hospital, I don't know if you have any like nursing majors or doctors, right? Most hospitals have, or universities have 403bs, essentially the same thing. Okay. So the benefits to those plans, right, is you guys come out of school and the company's going to say, hey, Danielle, right, if you make X, here's your salary, okay? If you contribute 5% of your income, we will match you that same 5%. Okay, and that's just an example. All companies have different rates, right? But so that's perfect, right? So there is no rate of return out there better than a free match on your contributions, right? So if you think about that, right, if you make $100,000 a year, 5% is $5,000 a year, but the company's giving you the same 5,000, right? So there's 10,000 a year going into your 401k. The only downside to it is you cannot touch that money until you're 59 and a half. Okay. If we touch it before 59 and a half, there's taxes and penalties, and we don't want that. Okay. How much you can put into it, you can max that out at 19,000 a year. That's actually 20,500 a year now. So just with new increases, so 20,500, and that money is not taxed up front. Okay, so there's no taxes up front. There's no taxes on the growth, but we're going to pay taxes on all that money in retirement. Okay, so just think about it. Now we're going to pay taxes in retirement. I'm sure most of you have heard of a Roth IRA. I feel like everybody's heard of a Roth IRA. I think a Roth is probably one of the best things that somebody can fund, especially from a young age. Can't touch it until 59 and a half as well. You can max it out at $6,000 a year. That's the IRS limit. It's how much you can put into it, but your money is taxed today. Okay. And if somebody's saying, well, why would I rather pay taxes today in retirement? The way that I look at that is like, hey, we really have no idea what taxes are going to be like in 5 years, let alone 10, let alone 40 years, right? Most likely we will be in higher income tax brackets, right? With what we've saved and what we're living off of. And taxes are probably going to increase, right? Depending on a lot of stuff, but taxes are probably going to increase, right? So I would rather myself and everybody I'm working with go get as much money tax-free in retirement as possible. Okay. So you pay taxes on the Roth IRA today. There's no taxes on the growth. And then you get all of that money tax-free in retirement. Okay. Something to be very conscious of when you guys go get your 401k plans. Okay. Whenever you guys hear the word Roth, okay, all that means, that's just a tax code, which means it's tax-free. Okay. So if you guys go get jobs right out of college, ask your bosses or look at the benefits and see if you have a Roth 401k option. Okay. All that means is your contributions to your 401k plan will be post-tax, meaning you get those tax-free in retirement. So it's a really, really good thing to have. Just make sure you ask if you have it. Roth IRAs, you do on your own. Annuities, right? So tax today, no tax on the growth, taxed in retirement, but there's no limits to how much you can put into it. Same thing, can't touch till 59 and a half. And then this is what I would call, so that says stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I look at that as like a liquid account. So a liquid investment account. Money that you guys, so if I have clients that say, hey, Brian, I don't want to put money to retirement, but I really don't want this money sitting in a bank account. I just, I want access to it if needed. I just need, I want it doing better for me and growing for me more than what my bank account is. We can just put that like in a liquid investment account. Okay. So I personally even look at that as my savings. It's not a savings account. It's an investment account, but that's money that's going to be growing, invested. And the only downfall, again, there's no limits to it. It's going to be growing, but we're taxed on all fronts. Okay. So from a tax standpoint, it's not the best option, but very good place to have investment accounts. And then we have the cash values inside of a life insurance plan, similar tax to like a Roth IRA. Those are tax codes. There's tax codes to everything. So that's a tax code 7702 that's inside of those plans. Benefits to that is it's actually a non-market based account. So there's really no risk when it comes to that. That money is taxed up front as well. No tax on the growth, no tax when you take it out. And the other benefit is you can access that money at any point, and there's no limits to how much you put into it. Okay. The only downside is there's no market growth. So just like pros and cons, there's no market growth, right? But it's also fixed and guaranteed. So however you want to look at that. All right. Any questions on taxes and everything like that? No. Okay. So this is one thing. This is one little piece here that it hits a little bit at home. Something that is very important. I will tell you the most unsexy piece of financial planning, but I think probably the most important is protecting your income. Okay. This is something that, and I almost like, if I work with somebody, I will let them know, like, this is not like we can't work together if you don't do this, but I promise you, I will recommend we protect your income if we work together. That's always going to be a recommendation. Okay. Why is that? Right. Every single one of you, like when you guys go out and work, if you're working, unless you're working at if you're running your own business or you're a private practice doctor or like a real small startup or something like that, you will not have any of your income protected. Okay. And when I say income protection, that means if you are sick, injured, and you cannot work, so you're disabled, right, in any capacity, that is physical disability, mental disability, right, how much of your income is protected, right? So most companies will offer you 60%. Okay, they vary, but almost all companies offer 60. So again, this easy example, right? So if you're making $100,000, okay, and your company offers you 60% of your income, if you are sick and injured and can't work, you'll get paid, but after taxes, 60% is more like 50. So you're probably only going to get paid about 50%, or so about $50,000 a year. Okay. And so, and if you're anything like me, I mean, you guys are all going to, a very great university in SLU. I know it's a very good university, and you guys have earned, the incomes that you have, right? The biggest thing that I look at is, like, I keep talking about 100, but like, let's say you're making $100,000 a year, right? If you made $100,000 a year for the remainder of your working years, essentially you're worth about $4.2 million. Like, that's the way that I look at that, right? So if something happens, then all of a sudden we can't earn our max potential of our income, then all of a sudden that 4.2 million is cut in half, right? And $2.1 million is a good chunk of change, right? And so the other thing that I always think about too, guys, is like, you guys, we get out of school, we buy cars, we buy houses and all that. What do we have to have on literally all of that, right? And what comes out of your paycheck, unless you're not 26 at your own mom and dad's? You pay for health insurance, right? Which health insurance still confuses the heck out of me, because they still send you nice bills with that stuff anyway, but that's for another time. So you got health insurance, you pay for car insurance, you get in big trouble if you don't have car insurance. You got home insurance, renter's insurance, you got all this stuff, but we don't have, it's not like mandatory to protect your income with disability insurance, right? That to me has always been a little bit mind blowing, right? We've worked our whole life to then get to to get to this point where we're earning money, but we don't take the initiative to fully protect it, right? So that's something that I always recommend. So that's another thing, when you guys have benefits, look to see what kind of disability insurance they offer you. And then if you need to supplement that, right? So if you have 60%, you can supplement that with something on your own, someone like myself, supplement that extra 35 to 40% that your companies don't offer you, okay? So yeah, and then so I guess just tax brackets. So last little bit, I mean, this is just kind of some good stuff to kind of keep an eye on, right? So understand like your income tax bracket. So as far as like where you're at, depends on where you're filing, whether it's single or jointly, or married filing jointly, okay? The most common probably, is somewhere between 12 and 24%, right? Because, if you're making over 20, you're at 12. If you're over 83 as a household, right? Singles, here's your numbers over here. But, it gets bigger and bigger, right? The more income you make. So this is why, going back to, I feel like, those saving strategies, why it's so important to save efficiently with taxes in mind. So Roth IRAs, other accounts that are tax efficient, because you guys at your ordinary income tax bracket, that's why, hey, it's really, really fun to make a lot of money, right? But we got to be conscious of how much we're paying in taxes. Also be conscious of what state you're living in. Some states have no income tax. Some states have 13% income tax, right? So I don't know, a perfect example is LeBron James, right? So we're thinking about anybody who plays for the Dodgers, Lakers, Steph Curry, right? So they're in the state of California. So for this example, we'll say they claim California as their home state, but that's where it gets pretty crazy. Like, let's say, I mean, I know what, like Steph Curry, I think his contract's somewhere around like 30 million a year or something like that, right? So Steph Curry is obviously at the highest income tax bracket. That's just federal, okay? So that's 37% of his income is going to federal taxes. Let's say he's making 30 million a year, right? And then you throw on California, which is around 12 to 13%. That's basically 50% of Steph Curry's taxes, or sorry, 50% of his income is going to taxes. So if you look at his income, right, from no matter who it's from, the Warriors, Under Armour, whoever he's sponsored by, it's really cool to see how much money he makes. But it's like, goodness gracious, he's making 30 million a year from his income from the Golden State Warriors, but he's only netting 15 million. So I don't feel bad for him. He's netting $15 million a year, right? But that's a pretty big deal, right? And so that's where, again, all this stuff when it comes to tax efficiencies and stuff like that, have somebody that can help you with that stuff, because that's where it gets, pretty sticky in the long run, right?
Brian, can I give you a breather?
Go for it.
Just mention a couple things here, and you can, maybe it'll sort of be questions for you, so you can catch a breath. Some things that came to mind there. When it comes to name, image, and likeness now, the big part of this is that you need to be aware that you're taxed on income. Even though you're just a college student and you didn't make that much money, you have to file taxes, you have to claim that. So, be well aware of that list that Brian just had. If you're getting to that 10,000, can you go back to that real quick, Brian?
Oh yeah.
If you're getting to 10,000, great, good job in college off of name, image, and likeness. But know that your tax bracket just went up, right? But anything you make is taxed at 10%. So account for that. Don't spend every dime you make just because I'm just a college student. It's all income. So be aware of that. I would also add from a old baseball player perspective, much like he was talking about those big time athletes, we've had more and more of our athletes going and signing professional contracts. And I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but you're often taxed in multiple states. So you might live in one state, that's your address, but then you made money in this state, and then you get traded to another team and you made money in that state. So they all want your money. So be aware of that. When you go and sign contracts, again, you're going to want to go play for that team that wants you to play for them, but know that you might get taxed in multiple states based on where you're working and where you're playing too. So
Royce, that's a great point. So isn't it like, for example, like, if the Warriors played in California, they get paid. If they play the game in California, they're paying the California state tax on that game. But if they played in, Texas, or there's Texas no state income tax, I think, or Florida, let's say they play the Orlando Magic, there's no state income tax in Florida. They're getting taxed where they play the game, correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
I believe that's correct. So good stuff.
So you're gonna, be aware of that if you do get that opportunity to play pro, that the tax man lives in every state.
That is correct.
Brian, will you, really quick before we wrap up, will you go to the slide that talks about the saving, living, spending one, where it talks about the percentages? Yeah, there. Wait, you passed it. Go down. Keep going. Right there. I feel like this is a good slide. This is where you wrap up. I want you to talk about that.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about it. Yeah.
No, you're talking about it.
Yeah. No. Good. Yeah. This is great. I think I do. I think this is for everybody kind of coming out. I mean, it comes back to just like being disciplined. Because, and guys, I will tell you the other thing that I always like to mention too. Salaries, incomes, those are great, right? Those are really, really good, right? But I promise you, I have doctor clients that make $400,000, $500,000 a year that are financially strapped, and it's almost mind blowing to even think that that's possible when you make so much money, And I have people that make a ton of money that are financially strapped, and I have people that are making a good starting salary, 40, 50, 60 grand right out of college that are crushing it, right? Just because they choose to live differently, right? So salaries are great. My point with that is salaries are great, but it is truly how you choose to manage, right? Your budget, what where you choose to live. Do we have roommates? How much are we spending? Different stuff like that. So I think it's very important to kind of understand, hey, what is our salary? What are we taking home? What are we saving, right? And dude, try to kind of live by that. I think the 60% as far as like, your rent or mortgage, different payments and stuff like that is great. I always say try to save around 15 to 20% of your income. And that can include 401k, right? So you have, 5% going there, perfect. Try to save an additional 10 to 15 outside of that. And then, and the other thing that I always look at too, some parents might not like this advice. Oh, sorry, guys. But I do. I think bills are paid. Right? If your bills are paid, and you're saving a good chunk of your money. We always have enough cash in an emergency fund of the bank. I mean, truthfully, go spend the rest, right? I mean, that's why it's there. I really do. I mean, I'm not here to ruin anybody's life, right? I want people to like me when I'm working with them. So yeah, as long as you're saving, right? I heard this at a conference one time, I think, but I think it's like a good savings plan allows for a good spending plan. And I think it's so true, right? You don't need to be miserable and save everything or pay down your student loans all at once, right? You get one life to live, but I think it's having a balance, right? Save enough to where we're going to be rock solid in the long run, and then have a plan around how much we're going to go enjoy and spend and do whatever, right? So I need to have this spending plan conversation with my wife, because there's boxes that show up at our door like every single day. So I haven't had that conversation with her yet, but I'll take this to the living room here when we finish up. So So all good. So I'm just imagining
That
every
I
single,
initiated.
I'm imagining every single one of them like, that was so funny. They're all laughing right now.
Please do not tell Danny that I initiated that conversation.
I won't. We look at our finances like, once a month. I look at them like all the time, but I kind of update her. She gets interested for about 45 seconds and she's like,
I feel that.
So that's all I got.
I'll
Roy.
mention my viewpoint real quick, if you don't mind, Brian. Just from an old guy, I know, kids come along and change everything. And again, I know all these college students are like, whatever, I'm never having kids. I'm Facebook friends with a lot of recent former SLU athletes that are parents now. It didn't take long. And I know that Brian and Danielle, they're both still in their 20s and have kids, right? I knew Danielle would like that. But me in my 40s, everything, Brian, I'm just supporting everything you said. Like, save early, get interested in what the retirement plan is, right? So as I'm just a little bit closer and closer to retirement, I think more and more about it. So just what Brian said, like, have fun, don't not enjoy your life, but know that you're socking away a certain amount. I wish I could go back and tell myself to do that. And especially if you have that discretionary income, if you get that good job out of college, which I know a lot of our student athletes do. Not everybody. It's a struggle with the pandemic and everything. Things are different, right? But still, if you get that job, like, make sure you're budgeting, make sure you're working with someone that can help you manage your money to do what's smart for the future. It's easy to feel like, hey, I'm 24. I'm going to live, like Carrie said, I'm going to live forever. It doesn't affect me, but these numbers don't lie. If you start when you're young, and even just a little bit here and there, man, it adds up. So, I just, in the time I've been at SLU, they do a great match to the 403B. Prior to the pandemic, it was double. We'd put in 5 and they'd give us 10, and it was great. And so my money's grown a ton. They cut that back, of course, when the budgets went down, but it's a big deal to me and my family in the future. So it really is. And I'll tell you this, Brian, too, my last thing, my 7 and 10-year-old and my wife, we're sitting down at the end of the month, every month at this point, and having a conversation about money, because I want them to have the financial understanding of like what we're all doing, their allowance, they get 30% goes to savings, 30% goes to spend, they have allowance that goes that way. So they've got some good savings accounts already, even though they're kids. So it's never too early to start, is my opinion. So
that's awesome. So cool. Well, Brian, thank you so much. And I totally agree. Like, y'all aren't expected to be, round of applause. I'm sure everybody's clapping on the other end, Brian. I just know it. You can do the little clapping emoji. I don't know. There we go. Benjamin, I love it. Thank you.
I'd also like to just quickly thank everybody. I know the Bachelor started at 7 o'clock. So if anybody has that, I appreciate everybody taking some time here with me. So.
Oh, yeah. And just like Roy and Brian said too, like, we don't expect y'all to be experts at this. So that's why we have financial advisors out there that can absolutely help with that as well. And I'm going to insert, or Brian, will you put your chat or your email in the chat box, and I can send it out to Roy after today as well. If anybody ever has any questions, that you can always reach out to Brian. And then I'm just going to share my screen here at the end for the kind of last slide here really quick. So as we wrap up here, before we stop for questions, what I would love for y'all to do is, if you can scan this QR code, this will allow you to give us feedback for today. Tell us how you liked it, right? Give Brian some feedback, which is always fantastic. I'm sure he's excited about that. But then also, if there are other resources that we as an office and a firm can help with, it will allow you to check those off as well. So if you're interested in mock interviewing, I know we just had y'all's career fair last week, but I think you also have another virtual one coming up. SLU's been doing career fairs all the time, which is fantastic. And you guys are going to start interviewing for summer internships, full-time jobs, stuff like that. We'll do resume reviews. And then we do have our nationally ranked internship program that we are currently interviewing for right now. Like I said, I'm out of the St. Louis area, Brian's out of the Illinois side, but we have the internship all across the US. So you don't necessarily have to be from St. Louis. I can always get you connected with your hometown if that's something you're interested in doing. And then also full-time as well. Our firm is actively hiring full-time positions, which is fantastic. And we know that SLU students get a fantastic education, and we always want to give that resource or option out to y'all first. So just please scan that, regardless of if you do want to take advantage of any of that other stuff, please give us feedback. That would be absolutely fantastic.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks, Carrie, Brian, and Danielle. Really appreciate your time, and thank you all for being on. I will post this recording up on the Canvas page for everyone as well. So you guys have that if you want to review something. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.